is RS4 time. This one's been a long time coming. Wrapped this truck up, 72 K10 for a great customer, Tim Lavoie. Thrashed on it, did the usual SEMA hustle, got it to the show, running, driving. Didn't have a chance to drive it around, you know, just debuted it, parked it, looked beautiful. Truck sits great, looks awesome, ran good, but got a little snow on the ground, got some salt. We go into a little bit of a holding pattern here in Illinois, but the roads are clear and we have a beautiful day today. So I get the privilege of putting a few miles on this K10. And what a privilege it is, man. This thing is badass. Kind of the flagship of our RS4 product line, I suppose, is the C10 K10 series. I mean, widely popular vehicle to build. Up until past few years, majority of the trucks built find themselves on our slam spec chassis, some of our fast track chassis, but these trucks have just been a huge hit. I mean, the market for these is massive, but typically been lower trucks. Not a lot of options to bring them up, right? But damn, they look cool. So we were fortunate to have a super hip customer that actually picked up a great older restoration that was, it was a 4x4 truck to begin with. So kind of a cool before and after of being able to jump in it with all the factory 4x4 stuff, which is pretty rare. I don't know, 6 months later, here I am driving it on an RS4 chassis. Man, for me, this is pretty fresh, right? We've done quite a few of these chassis, had a few Broncos through the shop, did a Power Wagon years back that was a little different than, wasn't really our standard RS4 chassis. So for me, this is something that's been a long time coming. The ride quality is so good. It's got DSC coilovers on it, 8-inch stroke. So proprietary RS valving in them, and like the street manners on them are awesome. Full disclosure, we didn't go into doing this RS4 lineup with the intention of them being primarily used off-road, right? Was the truck capable of it? 100%. Everything's super beefy. The front 4-link, the rear 4-link, front and rear spline sway bars, Fox remote reservoir, DSC coilovers, piggybacks out back. It's a badass piece that will take some abuse and certainly perform off-road, but we knew that most of our customers ultimately are going to be driving these things on the street. So that was where our primary focus was being able to take a solid axle front suspension, put something up in the air that you can get it on a 35-inch tire and give it some great street manners. You know, something that you can jump in and drive on the highway, daily drive, tool around, and not have it behave like a lifted vehicle. So, you know, my era, you know, when I grew up, everybody's lifting trucks, right? It's the OBS era. You're putting 4-inch lifts, you're putting 6-inch lifts on something, you're putting Thornbirds and Super Swampers, and you're chasing that damn truck all over the road, right? So for me, I'm perfectly used to that, you know, mentality of like lift it and go down the road doing this, you know, chase it from one lane to the other. So this is a little surreal that you can jump in something that's got a Dana 44 solid axle front, Dana 60 rear. I wouldn't say, I can't tell you the exact lift height, right? There's no, we don't base it off that. We put it where the ride quality looks cool, but you know, this would probably be considered like a 6-inch lift for somebody. So to get in this thing, and you know, here we're doing 50 miles an hour, just cruising, man. And it's pleasurable, right? The ride quality is killer because your alternative is what? Leaf springs, coil springs, something that's, you know, it's fairly primitive. So the Fox coilover package with the valving that's in it, it just knocks the ride quality completely out of the park. I mean, absorbs every single thing in the road, and you don't feel a single imperfection. Steering feel, Borgeson steering box, it's a 4-turn box, so fairly quick ratio. Man, steering feels awesome, right? Fox steering stabilizer up front, tunable, right? We've played around with them quite a bit. Great feature to have. Doesn't impact the steering feel a tremendous amount because all the suspension components are brand new beefy stuff, so you've got no deflection in anything. All overbuilt, thick wall, big diameter tubing on your tie rod, drag link, pan hard. There's nothing on it that's poly bushed, so you don't have any deflection. So the steering feel is awesome. Not a tremendous amount of compliance or deflection in any of that stuff. It just takes everything you throw at it, absorbs everything in the road, and drives awesome. So let's talk about the truck build a little bit. It's kind of fun doing these because you've got the Survivor recipe and then you're mixing it with the 4x4 stuff. So kind of a little bit of a new genre for us, but you can use a lot of the same tips and tricks and things like that. Walking through the truck, we didn't touch the exterior of this. Nice older restoration. You can get into a truck like this, find a nice donor truck, relatively affordable, and you know, I look at them as projects. Front to back, you know, handful of restoration parts here and there, but kind of gave it that standard Survivor treatment. It's a LSX 454, 630 horse, top mount throttle body, dressed up like a small block just so it looks at home between these inner fenders. On the inner fenders themselves, a little bit of trimming to get around the shock towers, and we kind of framed the shock towers out. It's a nice little sheet metal piece just to make it look a little more cohesive, like the inner fenders actually kind of blend with it, rather than just notching them out. Smooth the firewall, satin black on everything underneath there, and really you've got just, I mean, it's kind of a wash and wear type truck, right? It's all good looking stuff. You pop the hood, super clean, super tidy. So coming out of my Legend Series truck, that's LT4 powered, and jumping in this, that's LSX 454 powered. Similar horsepower, but this gives you a little bit more of the hot rod feel. You've got a nasty idle, I mean, nice lumpy idle. Probably about as nasty as you'd want it before it becomes, you know, kind of problematic to drive. But sounds super cool. Running through 3-inch stainless Borla mufflers. There's something about that sound. It's pretty cool. Got a little straightaway here that we can dip into it. Gets after it. Little false alarm with a policeman up there, so we're gonna hit the hooks a little there. Which stops great. Bayer 6-piston brakes, confidence inspiring, and you get into the brakes, the thing stops. Even going through this little S turn, this is a turn that we rip through traditionally with like fast track cars. Great proving grounds for some of our pro touring muscle cars, but this thing's fun and it just wiggles right through there. So you get some sporty feel to this, and it lets you kind of push it, which is fun. You don't want it rolling, diving, doing any of that. Kind of nice when you don't take it to one of those super high-end interior shops, because you get sun visors, right? These little 3 screws go in and boom, you got a sun visor because it's sunny. In the interior, we spent a little bit more time there, right? You want to put some of the creature comforts in the truck. A C10, there's not a lot of room for that stuff. So this customer wanted a double din with Apple Play. That seems to be one of those like sticking points with a lot of guys. You know, I'm not a techie guy, but I suppose if I was, I'd like that feature. So when you're getting ready to integrate a double din, what do you do with it? You know, do you just smooth the whole center of the dash? Do you cut a hole? Do you plant it? You want to make it blend as much as humanly possible. So with this, we saw an opportunity to create a cool little product that kind of accomplishes like everything that you need to put in the center of the dash, all in one, with no modifications or paint work needed to the dash, besides trimming out the sheet metal that goes behind the bezel. So cool little billet part here that it mounts the double din head unit from the back side, has an AC vent that's kind of classically styled, goes well with the truck, gets a little more volume out of it, integrates the factory slider controls which tie into the Vintage Air SureFit kit, factory ignition switch, lighter on the other side which we convert to a USB port. Cool little part, something that we're looking to make available here as we start to expand on some of our product line. Some other stuff as my phone's blowing up here and I'm getting texted reminds me, this center console. Center consoles are tough, man. You look at the Bronco guys, for example, okay, and it is one center console in every single Bronco ever built, okay? And for these trucks, what have you got? You've got that same universal console option, or you've got a factory center console, which it's basically like a shoebox, you know, that sits there. It looks cool, but it's not super usable. So we took that idea, we scanned it, we scaled it, we put some more modern conveniences in it. This particular one's a prototype, so it's primarily 3D printed parts, but it's got a little stash spot in the front. Drop your cell phone, drop whatever crap you've got in there. Power window, you got a dual switch bezel right here. It's your fingertips, which is nice because you don't have to disrupt a door panel. Not a lot of these trucks are power window equipped from the factory, so you can either punch a hole in your door panel or park them right here at your fingertips. Right next to that, another USB control, functional door with plenty of storage inside it. And it brings it up to a level where, you know, I'm sitting in some aftermarket bucket seats and it kind of puts it right there at my elbow where it belongs. So cool piece. You can dress it up, you can put some trim on it, you can upholster it. We're looking to integrate these into some of the Legend Series trucks, so keep an eye out, something that we'll expand on, keep improving, and get it to product form and get it out there so everybody's got access to it. Some of the other things that kind of crossed over on this, we talked a little bit about some of the Survivor stuff crossing over. Well, the Legend stuff does as well. If you check out the kick panels that are in it, that's another cool part that we have designed, 3D printed. It uses the same speaker grill and speaker bezel that we do in our Legend Series trucks, with some vintage amp material over the top. Uses a thin three-way Morel speaker, which is super cool for most of your muscle cars and trucks, right? The speaker's like 5/8 of an inch thick. It's like a pancake. So not having to deal with that massive speaker magnet and the volume that that speaker with that magnet requires makes it really easy to put a well-performing, great sounding sound system in a classic car. Another product that's just super useful, and it looks cool. I love the vintage amp material, 3D printed speaker grill that goes around the overall 3D printed kick panel. Makes for a really, really bitchin' product. The steering wheel on it comes from our Survivor Series. 3-spoke Lucara, factory GM center cap with the cross flags in it. Steering wheels are super important. I talk about that all the time. I've been getting some test miles in another car we just finished up, and it's got a vintage style wheel and the vintage style diameter. So it's like a stick, right? It's like a twig. And having the girth of that wheel, I mean, the ergonomics, it's a huge change in just the driving feel. So for the couple $100 or whatever it is, man, upgrade it. Even if you don't have a super high-end, high-dollar build, if you've got a muscle car, really cool upgrade. You'll love it. Connected to an I Did It column shift on it. In front of that, obviously, we've got Dakota Digital's RTX gauges. That's just a natural fit for these trucks. They've got a great bolt-in cluster on it. A little bit of some of the interior stuff that we did on it. Customer wanted bucket seats in it, post to the bench. So it's an aftermarket TMI bucket seat, which packages really good. I mean, trucks are tough. Obviously, I'm massive, right? 5'6", pretty big dude. So I struggle to fit in these trucks. Not at all. I can fit in just about anything, but for normal sized people, pickup truck cabs are tricky, especially when you convert them to bucket seats. You try taking like a, I don't know, Chevelle bucket seat or some other aftermarket buckets, and it really pushes you up on the column. But this is a great fit. They do it as a bolt-in kit, comes with some brackets, and not the fanciest brackets, but they get the job done, and you sit well. You really sit good in the truck. It's comfortable. Our guy Dave over at Vintage Stitch grabbed these TMI buckets and did a pretty cool insert in them. So me and John York, we were staring at this and thinking, man, it needs something. It needs something that pops a little bit. So what do you do for an insert that's not just like houndstooth or vinyl? So we found these cool Mexican blankets, throwing a little splash of orange at it, getting a little color in just the all black kind of interior. It works really well. Tied it into the door panels as well, and just makes for something that's a little bit interesting. I think it fits the era. To me, I dig it. Customer digs it. That's all that matters. But man, everything just works so good on this truck. And I think we're only maybe 15, 20 miles into like our shakedown on this. It's real fresh. But right out of the gate, I mean, this thing is super solid. A couple little rattles and some things in the dash that you got to chase down. And that's part of the 500 miles that we try to get on these, is finding every little quirk within that truck so that we deliver this to the customer as perfect as humanly possible. But all the mechanicals just seem to work well with it. Drive-by-wire gas pedal, love the throttle feel on it. 9-inch factory GM power booster on it. Brakes are killer. You know, even with that big cubic inch LS motor. 4L80 trans and Atlas transfer case. Yeah, I'm not really using 4x4 as we speak. We're out cruising on the roads here, so no need for that. But your sticks are right there, easily accessible. Unlike the Legend Series, you got to jump out and lock your hubs. Not a huge deal. But yeah, everything on this truck is just killer. I mean, big CNR radiator, standard kind of Legend stuff with the 19-inch PWM fan keeps this thing super cool. No problems there. And a couple of the neat things that we integrate into it, because we're always doing road tours, we're going to car shows, and you realize that the party tends to flock towards tailgates. Okay, so if you got a pickup truck, that's where everybody's headed. So this has a cool little product, and we talked about it a bit on Matt Saxton's Legend truck, but Fusion, it's a all-in-one kind of standalone little Bluetooth speaker module. Pretty shallow depth, so just like the square bodies, it fits right in the inner bedside on these C10, K10 trucks. Little switch panel next to that for your bed lights and your rock lights, which we use to just illuminate the ground right near the tailgate. Yeah, it makes for a cool little tailgating experience. So it's a fun combination. I mean, I gotta tell you, this thing, it's got a lot going for it, right? The suspension's kick-ass, the drivability is great. I mean, it steers good, it's fast, it's a really cool hot rod, which is something that, I mean, this opens up a whole new genre of hot rod, right? Now you've got something that you can lift up in the air, capture that old school kind of 70s vibe, you can make it go fast, and you can drive it anywhere you want. You can have fun driving it anywhere you want. I'm yet to find anything that I dislike about it. This is a great offering for somebody that wants a cool 4x4 truck that's not out there or over the top as far as ride height or massive tires go, but something they could jump in, drive, and enjoy. And that's what we've got right here. This truck, after we get a few miles on it, it's going to be shipping out to California. I hope that Tim loves it, which I think he will, because I sure dig it.